So my name's Chris Ashton, and I built this GT40. Well, it started with a Superformance GT40. They come as a roller, and so I bought it, and then I wanted to wide body it, customize it, do my own gauges, headlights, body kit, motor installation, all that stuff. I took care of all that. I designed the paint scheme and everything, so all the custom touches you see are mine. Kind of the theme for this build was using high-tech processes and materials and stuff. I'm used to working in metal, so because it's fiberglass, I had to take on sort of different processes. So the whole car was 3D scanned into the computer, and then the fenders, the nose piece, the headlights, all that stuff was modeled in the computer in 3D, and then 3D printed. And for the fenders, the body kit, you take the 3D prints and then we make molds from them, and then we actually produce the carbon fiber panels. The headlights I built in the computer, and then these are actual 3D prints that are usable. So they're high temp material, but there is, some sanding and finishing and that sort of thing. So some of the electronics and the lenses are like from a Harley Davidson headlight. The vertical turn signals there from a Toyota Avalon. And so I bought other headlight housings and took them apart and scanned those pieces and then made them so they could screw in and stuff to my housing. So it's just sort of like anything I could do to get the look that I was happy with. A lot of small touches, these wings in the center and these little ones on the side, the wings in the back, the scoop, those are all mine as well. These are aluminum. The scoop in the back I originally made out of steel, and then we pulled a mold from it and molded it in carbon fiber. I built these headers. They're 180-degree headers, so you cross over 2 cylinders from the right, the pipes get piped to the left side, and 2 from the left get piped to the right side. And what that means is that when the exhaust is firing, that it's equal pulses, and you just get a little bit more power, and it sounds more race car that way. So the tricky thing for me was I wanted these pipes to be equal length. For the cylinders that are close to the collectors, you have to spend that length somewhere. And so that's kind of why they get twisted around and stuff, is just because I'm trying to make sure that all of the primary tubes are the same length. And then I wanted to get cool air into the engine, which is always tricky on a GT40, especially the fuel injected stuff. So that's why I built the roof scoop and this intake setup was to get cool air into the engine. Then in the back, it's got 4 exhaust tips, and the top 2 are used when the exhaust is going through the muffler, and then the bottom 2 are used when it's just coming straight out of the headers, so it can be straight piped. So there's vacuum operated solenoids in the back where the exhaust can be closed or open, depending on if I'm racing or if I'm driving on the street. Sure, can show you that. On the interior, it's mostly the way Superformance built it, except that I did a custom shifter surround, and then my shift knob and the shift lever is titanium. The shift knob is a forged carbon. Obviously, I used Speedhut gauges. I like that they had a set, like just a complete, like a GT40 set that had all the right sizes and the right number of gauges. And then obviously with the color scheme, I've got blue and the bronze and then red, and that's carried throughout the car. So the gauges, I went with red gauges for everything except for the tack. I went with bronze, and then the Ruffian logo in red in the center of that. So super happy with how all that stuff came out. I also 3D printed the switch labels that are on there. Usually on the GT40s, they have like the old school, like paper labels or the plastic labels, or so I wanted to update them and make them look a little bit nicer that way. So we had the big forest fires in Southern California. The house was saved and we were happy and thought that we dodged the bullet. And then the first big rainstorm that came through, since all the vegetation was burned, the mud just flowed off the mountain, and unfortunately it flowed right into the back of the house and into the garage. And this, I was in the process of building it, so this was on a lift. It was 4 feet off the ground. The bottom 6 inches was covered with mud. And then I had another car that's here, a 911 electric Porsche, that was on the ground that actually floated up above the workbench. So both cars were quite a bit covered in mud and suffered some damage in that, and I had to find a new property and move and get set up in a new garage and stuff. So it really set me back a few months on both the builds. So the build really came down to the wire. I like to do all this stuff myself. I had to call in all my favors to my friends, and I think we had 5 of us just cranking on the car for the last 3 or 4 days. Little sleep, maybe 4 hours a night. The car was in pieces, and we finished it Sunday at about 2 o'clock, and then drove up, and then this was in the booth on Monday morning. So I've driven it all of 2 blocks from the parking lot to here. So I'm excited to get it back home, get it registered, and put some miles on it. Yeah, it came out a lot cooler than I expected. It took me 2 years, sort of from start to getting the rolling chassis to finishing it, and so it's not, it's not my full-time job or anything. It's just it's a hobby for me, and I love the GT40s, but I really want mine to be my own and to be special, and so yeah, this is it.